welcome back to this very short video. It's basically an update video on the Yamaha, and it's also a little bit about a repair I did on a 1950s radio, which I was unable to video because it was such a quick turnaround. But this is what this video is about. Now, it's been about ages ago, about a month ago, since I made the video on the Yamaha CA800/2, and you may remember I left you in a bit of a limbo situation because it wasn't really fixed and I wasn't really happy with it. Well, a bit has happened in between. I did a bit more fault finding on it, couldn't really get to the actual cause of this intermittent problem. The customer then wanted it back, which they did, on the understanding that it wasn't fixed. It worked 9 out of 10 times or something like that. It worked more than it didn't, but occasionally it was still failing on the clunk on the speakers. So he's taken it back on the understanding that it's not fixed. I haven't really discovered the fault on it, and that when there is time I will take it back and have a more extensive look and maybe do some more research on the possible fault. So I'm going to show you a little bit about that now. The other part of this video is to do with a Kolsler FB10 radio, built in this country in the 1950s, known affectionately as the toaster radio, because as you'll see from the photo, it looks just like a toaster, but don't try putting bread in it, because well, it won't work. Anyway, this radio came into me from a lady who hadn't heard it since she was a child, and it belonged to her father, and she really was desperate to hear it again. So she said, would I look at it? So I did. The fault was fairly simple. Some of the coupling capacitors and more importantly the smoothing capacitors had failed, so I replaced those and it worked absolutely fine, and she was absolutely delighted with it. I replaced the dull drive bulb and cleaned it up a bit, and that was basically it. So that's what this short video is about. So let's carry on and have a look at an update on the Yamaha and the repair of the Kolsler FB10, but only in photos, I'm afraid, because I didn't get the opportunity to make the video. So this is the problematic Yamaha amplifier, which I've spent so much time trying to find the fault on. And as I said previously, it's still not fixed, but the owner has now got it back. I'll just show you a couple of shots of some of the things I did in attempting to repair it. And these mainly include the speaker select panel. So let's have a quick look at that. These are the main switches on the speaker select panel, which I've cleaned extensively and checked for any arcing. None found, but they all seem to be working fine. The other thing I needed to check was the two micro switches, which selected the various source of the amplifier. So let's have a quick look at those. This picture shows one of the micro switches involved in the mode changing on the amplifier. I haven't changed them, so they're going to stay as they are. But as I say, after a considerable amount of time spent on this amplifier, sometimes it works without the clunk and sometimes it doesn't. So are we quite happy to have it back at a later date when I have more information on this type of fault? But for now, bye bye Yamaha. And welcome to the Kolster radio. Made in the UK in the circa 1950s. It was a 5-valve radio, AC only operation, and they made two versions, both an AM version and an FM version. The one I'm looking at is just the AM version. but it's a nice little radio. It's a cross between a kitchen appliance and a radio. So let's have a look at what the problem was. The radio was very easy to disassemble, just 4 screws underneath. But when I lifted the lid off, as you can imagine, it was full of fluff and dust and cobwebs and dirt. Hadn't been used for almost 40 years. So the first job was to clean it up and switch it on. Once it had warmed up, I was confronted with a very, very loud hum, which was unaffected by the volume control. So the obvious conclusion was that the smoothing capacitor had failed, or capacitors had failed, and would need to be replaced. The next problem was getting at it. That proved to be simple once I'd figured it out, and the way to do it was to remove the front speaker, undoing the clips that held it at top and bottom. Once that was achieved, the smoothing capacitor, which was a twin 32 microfarad capacitor in a single can, could be seen clearly. So initially I just jury hooked the equivalent capacitance across that. Not the right way to do things, I know, but across it, and immediately the hum disappeared. Having removed the capacitor, I then also cleaned all the valve bases and a couple of coupling capacitors inside, paper ones, with modern ceramics, and then replaced the dial drive bulb, which had long burnt out. And then, everything working, I reassembled it.
John Grant is a senior lecturer in sustainable development and climate change. He spoke to 5 Live.
Only about 30% of the heat gets converted into electricity. It's a very poor method, and coal was the same. At best, it was 30% of the heat from the burning of coal got converted into electricity. There are better ways of making electricity than burning waste.
Let's get a sport now with Jonathan McKeith.
Nick, thank you. Talks have taken place between the Football Association.
Well, there is the offending can capacitor, 2 times 32. That having been removed, I cleaned all the valve bases, tidied everything up, and replaced the pilot light in the dial drive mechanism, which made it all look much better. Having done all that, the whole thing was reassembled, and there we go, and a general clean, and there we go.
For the NHS, because as I've said time and again, yes, we need more money for our NHS, but we've got to think differently. We've got to reduce the pressure on the NHS. So this will help in all of those areas.
Health Secretary Wes Streeting was on this programme last night.
Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the short video. I'll be back again with you soon, hopefully. But as you saw just now, my desk is completely empty. I'm going to take this opportunity to tidy up the workshop. It's in a bit of a state, and make sure everything is tidy and in its right place. I've also ordered a new soldering station, which will replace this one. I don't know if you can see it. This one, which is coming, it's all right, but it's not as, oh, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Replace the soldering station because this one is, the soldering iron is okay, but I'm running fairly short of bits, and it's all right, but I thought I'd update it with something a bit more substantial. So I've ordered a 60-watt soldering station, which should be here, according to my phone, within the hour. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll get that set up, and I'll just have a general tidy round before I get another job to do. Thank you for all my subscribers, and thank you for everyone who watches this channel. I'm looking forward to doing something a little bit more substantial very soon. So to everyone, as always, take care.